All right, hello and welcome. My name is Andy, and this is my vowel search program. So essentially what this program does before we get into the code, it'll tell us how many times we can run this whole code, in which is here, 9 searches left. And of course, it'll give us a simple math quiz to start off, to test your quote-unquote IQ to see if you can continue on with this thing. So 5 times 5, 25. So in the end, we have 31 right here. So correct. Boom, it tells it automatically tells you it's correct. And find a word 1 to 6 in the range of 1 to 6 and 1 to 6 vowels in a word. So let's say we want to find 2 vowels in a word. It'll give us all of the words that have 2 vowels. Boom, right here. Minecraft. Ooh, all this, no, witchcraft, and all this here, which is all imported from our text file called allnouns.txt right here, which I'll elaborate later. And of course, if you get this wrong, boom, it'll print you have failed, and we have to restart this whole quiz. All right, so now while I only have 5 minutes, I just jazzed up on all these comments in which I already put it on the document. So, all right, let's get straight into it. So first, I imported the library called time, right? And so this will be used to handle the amount of time the whole program took, in which I'll I'll elaborate that on later. And then I imported random, which is used to generate random numbers for our range. So the program is divided into 2 parts. The first part is math quiz, and that tests the player's IQ and tests if the player can go to play vowel search or not. So if it'll go to vowel_search function or not. And the second part is the vowel search that gives the nouns with the player's specified number of vowels. So this is the whole main jazz program right here. All right, so the math quiz function is defined, and the function randint from imported random. So right here, and randint right here is used to generate 3 integers from their fixed range, and those are the following: x equals random.randint 1 to 10, and it'll generate 3 random numbers from math quiz from x, y, z. And this is the built-in function, so it'll give us a range, and it'll choose a random integer from this range: 110, 110, 120. All right. So then I defined a variable called count right here to count how many times the player got the quiz wrong, and finally break through this whole while loop inside this math quiz. So this whole while loop keeps running until we break it. Now let's go straight inside this loop code. So at the beginning of each loop, 3 random integers are generated, and which all leads to a equals x plus y times z. So this whole variable here. And then it is internally calculated as a correct answer. Then the print function is used to display right here. It is used to display this whole code of x, y, and z. And then this next input function asks the player to input his answer to the quiz. Please note that this whole, that the inputs are actually a string. They're not true integers. It may look like a string, but it may look like an integer, but it's actually a string. It's not a true integer. So we have to intify this thing. We have to convert this whole string into an integer. So once the user inputs an integer, we have to go through some loop checks to see if the user inputs the integer, if they input the correct answer or not. So right here, so every time the player doesn't have the correct answer, we add 1 to the count marks, to the variable count, to mark a failed test. So they did that wrong. Now, once that player reaches 5 consecutive failed tests, it breaks the loop, and then it'll quit the math quiz, and it has to be restarted. If the player does get the quiz correct within those 5 tries, it will tell you that the answer is correct. And then it'll continue on to the second part called vowel search, in which I'll later explain the Boolean values of false and true statements. Now we are on to the vowel search part. So after it returns true, it'll continue on to this vowel search. So now we're on to the vowel search, and we first open a file called allnouns.txt as f for read with the r option. So basically this r option is read, and it'll allow us to use these functions down below, and it'll open this whole all noun text file as f. So all noun text file. So opening this whole file will be the variable f. So here, so here I put the text file into a specifically named folder called all nouns, and it holds thousands nouns with different vowels. And then I used the built-in function readLine into a variable called file content. So this is where readLine comes in. So f.readLine basically goes into this allnouns.txt file and read it line by line into a variable called file content. So it'll read it line by line. Now this is where my time library comes into play. Once it reads all, I will start this time function called time.time, which will start the countdown of this loop through the use of this formatted string down below right here in s.second and right here. So it'll replace this whole jazz here. And now what this is a function imported from this library, from this package of time. And basically this whole formula, the time.time minus start time, is the elapsed time. So elapsed time of this whole program. All right, now from going back, I started an infinite loop right here. So I started an infinite loop called while1. And I will search for all of the nouns in all the text file, aka all the content here. To start this search, I created a variable called vowel_input, where I will hold an input statement for all of the player. So an input statement for the player to give his or her desired number of vowels. Then I inserted an if not to tell if the player input is not a digit. Now we'll return a message printed on the screen to remind the player to input a digit number. Now once it is correct, it'll convert the player's input into an integer as before by using the function int. So right here. Now, so while we have done that, we'll use one more if statement, and which is used to check if the player input the number of vowels within the range of 1 to 6. Less than 1, greater than 6, and then it will print out the following statement. However, if they do it correctly, it breaks the entire loop and starts executing the main vowel search using a variation of basic algorithm called bubble sorting. Now to do that, I created an object called noun, which is the noun extraction of the file content. So I'm extracting noun, the object noun, from file content. So starting the loop, I have a variable called vowel_count. Using the same method as bubble sorting of I++, increment for each noun extracted from this file content a loop. I used a loop used to input each letter of the noun. Then we check if the letter is one of the vowels. So we'll check if the letter what we're defining is lowercase. So now if we run a bunch of if statements where if letter.lower makes this check easier by converting the uppercase to lower cases, all the uppercase letters to lower cases. Then we can check with the lowercase only. We'll check the lowercase words only, and it will print off the lowercase only. So if it is a vowel_count will then be increased by 1 right here. It will be increased by 1 until looping to the last letter of the noun. So it will keep searching until it goes to the last vowel of the noun. So after the vowel search of this noun, check if the number of vowel is what the player wanted. So right here, equals right here. So we'll check if this is what the player wanted, then using an inbuilt function to replace right here. As you can see, we'll use the inbuilt function. I used an inbuilt function to replace all the unwanted symbols, braces, quotation, etc. with blank space. Then print this nouns, print everything onto the screen. Otherwise, go to get another noun from file content and do it again until all the nouns inside file content are searched. So here, right here, so for letter and noun, it'll grab this whole letter object from noun and it'll keep searching through all of the words in the text files, and it'll see how many nouns they have. So every time, if it searches an A, E, I, O, U, it'll increase this by 1. All right, so now in the end, while they are all functions, we define a main function to implement /upon execute command. So it'll call upon math quiz and vowel search in order. In this function, we make it so that the player can only play/repeat this game 10 times total, in this for I in range 10. Now, and then it'll tell you how many plays remaining by subtracting the played time from the total allowed, because count is basically just how many times you have done this, or the whole program starts and it tells you how many times you have done this, but we want the remaining time, so we'll have to minus it from the maximum. Now the two booleans in which I promise to elaborate later, the true and false from the quiz, which tells that the player is successful in the math quiz through this if not statement in the math quiz and decides to go to the vowel search or not. Now the main function will catch these two booleans implement them. So it'll check to decide if it'll either go to vowel search or not. So as we can see here, if not, so if this whole thing is false, if that whole thing is false, if they fail, break. So we have to reset the whole program. However, if it's not, it goes straight to vowel search. Now at the end, we have this constructor called underscore underscore name. Now, whenever the Python reads a source file, aka in this case is the program, it does two things. First, it sets a few special variables like underscore underscore name underscore underscore, and then it executes all of the code found in the file, in which this case main here, in which this case it's def main. So it searches this whole function of def main, which has the math quiz and vowel search executed in it, and this will essentially execute all of the code found. So here we'll execute all of the code found in def main. So it'll follow this whole thing and execute it. Now, this is my video, and although I did make it over 5 minutes, I'm hoping that it still counts. So yeah, this is my program.